Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with turkey gravy with porcini mushrooms and marsala. This is a make-ahead turkey gravy that's going to make your Thanksgiving a lot easier, because if you have the sauce ready ahead of time, much more relaxed when the turkey comes out of the oven, because you're not scrambling trying to make a gravy. So I like making my sauce ahead of time, and here's how I do it. I get a package of turkey necks at the store, and I'm going to brown that in a little bit of oil over medium-high heat on both sides very well. Once the turkey necks are browned, I'm going to add my mirepoix, celery, carrots, onions, and let that cook until it softens and the onions get a little bit translucent and a little bit golden brown. It's going to take maybe 5 or 6 more minutes. At that point, we're going to deglaze with some wine. Now, I'm using Marsala wine. It's kind of a sweet wine, so this sauce does definitely have a sweet profile. If you tend not to like sweeter things, use a regular dry white wine. It will be just as delicious. And don't ever use anything called cooking wine. Horrible stuff. Don't touch it. I'm going to raise the heat to high, and we're going to boil that until it reduces by about half. And this is not scientific. You're looking, you're like, you know what? Looks like about half's gone. You could even go down a little farther than that, but just don't let it evaporate and burn. At that point, I'm going to add my cold water, a couple quarts. I'm also going to add a bay leaf, a couple peeled garlic cloves, and a little bit of dry porcini, maybe a quarter of an ounce. All right, we're going to give that a stir, and we're going to bring it up to a simmer. Now remember, we're still on high heat here, but as soon as it does come to a simmer, I want you to back it down to low so you just have a nice, gentle simmer going. All right, and of course, as it comes up to a simmer, you can skim any foam that comes to the top, and once you've adjusted your flame just right, and you have just that nice, gentle simmer going there, we're going to cover, but not all the way. Leave it cracked about an inch, and we're going to slowly simmer that on low heat for about 4 or 5 hours. I need that meat to fall right off those neck bones. I want all that flavor going into the broth. All right, the meat should be completely flavorless and bland because everything's been extracted into the liquid. All right, so when you're happy with it, I want you to strain it carefully, transfer it into a container, and let it cool completely. You're probably going to have a quart and a half. So set that aside. If it cools down all the way, you can just refrigerate it until needed. You can totally make the stock a day ahead. No problem. To finish the sauce, I'm going to take another handful of mushrooms, another maybe quarter ounce. I'm going to soak it in some warm water for about 15 minutes so it's soft enough to dice. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to squeeze it. By the way, you can save that liquid if you want. Be careful, there might be sand at the bottom. But if you want to thin your sauce later with a little bit of that, you can. And we're going to take those rehydrated porcini mushrooms, dice them very fine, and then with a little bit of butter in a saucepan, we're going to brown those over medium heat until really nicely caramelized. This is where a lot of the flavor is coming from. All right, it'll almost look like bacon bits. Just gorgeous. And the smell of this is just otherworldly. I can't even describe it. Well, actually, I just did. Otherworldly. So amazing. Your neighbors will be like, what the hell's going on over there? All right, at that point, I'm going to dump in some flour, and we're going to make a little bit of a roux that's going to thicken this gravy. And I keep saying gravy, it is really more of a sauce. I'm going to stir in the flour, and over medium heat, we're going to cook that flour for about 3 minutes, and then, you guessed it, we're going to whisk in, slowly at first, we're going to whisk in our turkey neck stock. All right, once the first cup or so is in, you can just dump it all in. At that point, you can raise your heat up to medium-high, and let's bring that up to a simmer. Now, this is going to reduce down. I'm hoping to end up with just under a quart of sauce. So it's not going to be that thick when you first start reducing it. But as you'll see, after a couple cups of water are evaporated up out of there, it will thicken up beautifully. So just keep an eye on it. You can reduce it slow on a lower heat. You can turn yours to medium-high like I did here and reduce it a little quicker. Just be careful. You don't want to do all that work and then, burn it. So I suggest using medium heat and just boiling it down until you're perfectly happy with the texture, which I was right there. And like I said earlier, not as thick as a gravy, much more like a classic restaurant-style sauce consistency. And yes, you don't have to waste the pan juices from your turkey. You could pour that off, boil it down, and add it right to this. So that's not a problem. But like I said at the beginning, it's just so much easier having your gravy made ahead of time. All right, final stage. We're going to do a little seasoning, which is going to be freshly ground black pepper, a good amount, big pinch of salt, of course that's to taste, and just a little drizzle of cream to give it a little extra richness. It is a holiday after all, and it also really makes for a beautiful color. I'm going to transfer that into my gravy boat, And then I suggest you pour it over roast turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, etc. Just incredibly delicious. So anyway, there you go. Turkey gravy with porcini mushrooms and Marsala wine. I hope you give this a try. I think you're going to love it. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts, as usual. And as always, enjoy.